This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. A focus on the economy and fence-mending day for George Bush. The Republican president-elect tried to get off to a good start in his relations with Congress and at the same time reassure nervous financial markets about the economy. But as CBS News correspondent Terrence Smith reports, not everyone in Congress was buying the Bush line.
The numbers don't work out.
Powerful House Budget Committee Chairman Bill Gray threw down the gauntlet today, declaring flatly that George Bush's solution for the budget deficit, his flexible freeze, won't fly. And Gray produced a financial breakdown which he says proves it.
I asked my staff to analyze it, to evaluate it, add up the numbers and see if it's possible to get there from here. They said, no, it is not.
The president-elect's transition team fired right back.
He is a partisan Democrat and chairman of the Budget Committee, and he's certainly entitled to his own opinion, but the fact is there are a number of responsible people who believe it will work. The Vice President is confident it will work.
And Mr. Bush himself continued his drive to persuade a skeptical Wall Street that he is serious about deficit reduction.
We want to flesh out the economic side of the House, I think.
He's expected to name two pragmatists early next week. Richard Darman as budget director and Stanford University economist Michael Boskin as chairman of his Council of Economic Advisors. Another signal to Wall Street. Mr. Bush will try to work with the opposition. In fact, today was Reach Out and Touch a Democrat Day. After a quick helicopter trip to meet with newly elected governors, Mr. Bush drove to Capitol Hill to make up with House Speaker Jim Wright, who his friends say was livid over Mr. Bush's public call during the campaign for a special prosecutor to investigate the speaker.
There's no war.
Mr. Bush brought along his new chief of staff, John Sununu, whom Wright had never met.
He chose to come to see me, and that was wonderful. I thought that was a good sign. He showed by doing that he was willing to come halfway.
Both sides are going to great lengths to do just that, compromise. But as Chairman Gray's tough words on the budget today made clear, that veneer of post-election cooperation may be difficult to preserve. Terrence Smith, CBS News, the White House.
President Reagan signed a new anti-drug bill into law today. He dedicated the legislation passed by Congress and signed by him to his wife, who has led a campaign against drug abuse. Major provisions of this new law: the death penalty for drug lords, creation of a cabinet-level drug czar, and stiff fines for casual users. Major problem: Congress provided only a fraction of the multi-billion-dollar cost of putting the law into force. Air Force investigators today searched the wreckage looking for clues to the cause of a crash that destroyed a B-1 bomber near Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. The Air Force insists this latest accident involving the B-1 does not reflect on the bomber. But CBS News Pentagon correspondent David Martin reports the costs are beginning to mount up.
$280 million worth of airplane lay in ruins today following last night's crash of a B-1 bomber, the second in as many weeks. This time, the pilot landed short of the runway.
We heard a noise like a plane trying to increase power. It made a funny noise. At that time, we looked towards the base and saw what looked like a plane tilting, like the wings were turning to one side, and then everything went black, the power went out, and then we saw the explosion go up.
At the last second, the four-man crew ejected safely, although the pilot may have a tough time explaining why he landed short. Bad weather is one explanation.
We do know that the weather was a factor because the visibility was reduced and we were experiencing low clouds.
Last week's accident was a different story. An engine caught fire, forcing the crew to eject, and the Air Force temporarily grounded most of the B-1 fleet while it checked for loose fittings that could let fuel or hydraulic fluid spray into the engines. Last year, another B-1 crashed when it struck a bird while practicing low-level bombing runs. The Air Force has now lost 3 of the 100 B-1s it purchased, but says that's not unusual, just part of breaking in a new plane.
For the amount of time we've had it, the amount of time the crews have been flying it, the complexity of the airplane, it really is a very safe aircraft.
There are no plans to ground the B-1 as a result of this latest accident, and to hear the pilots talk, that's fine with them.
It's bad that it happened, but you know, you just pick up your toys and go on. You can't just dwell on it for too long. Just try and fix what went wrong and keep on going.
The Air Force continues to insist the B-1 is the best long-range bomber in the world. That may well be true, but it doesn't answer the question of whether the Air Force can afford to keep losing airplanes which cost $280 million apiece. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
And still to come on the Friday CBS Evening News, Eric Ingberg on the bare-knuckle Canadian election campaign. And science looks at the deadly 6 seconds in Dallas, the assassination of President Kennedy after 25 years.
My favorite GM car I worked on. Kept it all these years, even after I retired. Every time my son looks at it, he smiles. Very popular at the time, I tell him. My boy's at GM now, building beauties like this one. One thing hasn't changed. We still build them to last.
GM cars have held their resale value better than any other U.S. make.
Color Tile's 35th anniversary sale is on now. But hurry, it's the final week to save up to 50% on our huge selection of ceramics, vinyl, even wall coverings. This handsome ceramic only 64 cents. Every in-stock Armstrong Sundial Solarian sheet vinyl just $9.99. This fashionable ceramic only $139. And decorative bouquet wall tiles just $199. It's the final week to save up to 50% at Color Tile's 35th anniversary sale. But hurry, sale ends Sunday. Come now and bring the beauty home.
Many people need to cut down on salt for better health.
Instead of salt, use great-tasting Mrs. Dash with 14 natural herbs and spices. Use Mrs. Dash on every dish for zesty, savory flavor. For better health, instead of salt, try Mrs. Dash.
I woke up with a sinus cold.
Pain, congestion, pressure.
I took new maximum strength Dristan. I'm here.
New maximum strength Dristan to unclog congestion, relieve pressure and pain.
And I'm not drowsy.
New maximum strength Dristan for tough sinus colds.
3 days before elections in Canada, the opposition is making an issue of President Reagan, charging him with interfering in the campaign. Yesterday, Mr. Reagan praised the new free trade agreement between the United States and Canada, calling it, quote, cooperation at its best. Canadian Liberal Party leader John Turner, who wants to cancel that agreement, called Mr. Reagan, and I quote, a lame duck trying to rescue a dead duck. Correspondent Eric Ingberg is covering the rough-and-tumble campaign in the North.
Canada, where political campaigns used to be polite, genteel affairs, is having one fine Donnybrook as it decides whether to stick with the present pro-American government of Conservative Prime Minister Brian Mulroney.
Free trade! Hands off of me!
Shouting matches and fistfights have been a routine feature of a campaign that has split the country in half. Mulroney's support of an agreement with the U.S. to end nearly all trade barriers has ignited a burst of nationalism from Canadians who fear the U.S. will simply buy up their country. Mulroney's Conservatives were coasting to an easy re-election when the opposition Liberals started hammering them on the trade issue, beginning with the candidate TV debates.
I happen to believe that you've sold us out.
The issue in a campaign that lasts just 50 days turned things around as the Liberals put out attack ads exploiting long-simmering fears of U.S. economic power.
Just how much are we giving away in the Mulroney free trade deal?
The Conservatives fired back, but their lead evaporated.
There is a contrary spirit that now that the Americans have said they're all for the deal, maybe we'll just tell them to go stuff it. Possibly if the Americans had shouted and screamed saying they hadn't wanted the deal, we'd leap into it.
Who needs a culture or an identity?
As Mulroney had to face the music from Canadians who fret over losing their national identity, in snowy Western Canada, he was skewered by an unlikely critic, a 72-year-old grandmother named Marjorie Bowker, whose book, an instant bestseller, warned that Canada would be hurt.
There will be many Canadian firms that will not be able to compete with the cheaper inrush of American goods. Now, those businesses will simply go broke, and Canadian jobs will be lost.
On the stump, the candidates also employ the kind of overstatement and patriotic appeals American politicians would recognize.
John Turner says that the cause of his life is to tear up the free trade agreement. The cause of my life is to build a nation.
They're not going to vote for Brian Mulroney, who wants to become the governor of a 51st state. They're going to vote for John Turner, who wants to become Prime Minister of Canada.
The third party, the socialist New Democrats under Ed Broadbent, could well complicate the outcome by finishing in double digits. Political analysts expect no party to win a majority, forcing a coalition government that would leave the trade bill in limbo. That would confront the new Bush administration with a cloudy picture to the north. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Winnipeg, Canada.
Marilyn Quayle ended the speculation today. She said she is, quote, not interested in replacing her husband as United States Senator from Indiana. Vice President-elect Dan Quayle will give up his Senate seat before January 3rd to allow outgoing Republican Governor Robert Orr to appoint his successor. Judgment Day for Mario Biaggi. The former New York congressman drew 8 years in federal prison for his role in the WedTech bribery scandal.
Shrouded in secrecy for years, the stealth bomber will soon be introduced to the public. For the record, we introduced ours first.
I couldn't tell anybody my problem. I couldn't tell my boss, I don't feel like coming to work because I'm constipated. Some excuse. What's he going to say? Hey, take a laxative. Sure. Then get on the bus and hope that it doesn't kick in? Then one simple idea changed my life. Daily fiber therapy. Metamucil fiber therapy. See, fiber helps keep you regular, but I wasn't getting enough. Now I get plenty. And Metamucil fiber won't irritate your system like a harsh chemical laxative. Works with your body, safely, naturally. So, with Metamucil every day, I got regular and stayed regular. Now when I talk to my boss, I say, hey, how about a raise?
Metamucil, and you could stay regular for the rest of your life.
Do you wear dentures and smoke like John? You can be a fresh mouth, too. With Mint Fresh Smoker's Polident. Its super strength cleans tough tobacco stains. Its minty mouthwash ingredient freshens up dentures. Try Smoker's Polident, a mouth freshening clean.
4 black activists were found guilty of treason in South Africa today. 7 others were convicted of terrorism. All of them could get the death penalty. As CBS News correspondent Martha Teichner reports, these verdicts were also a heavy blow to the anti-apartheid movement.
Guilty of treason and terrorism, the verdict families of the 11 black anti-apartheid activists dreaded throughout the 3-year trial.
It's clear that when our people seek to bring about an end to apartheid and oppose it non-violently, you are criminalized.
Anti-apartheid activists believe that what was really on trial here was the whole question of whether any dissent can be tolerated in South Africa. The government's case that violence in the black township of Sharpeville in 1984 was incited by leaders of the United Democratic Front, a coalition of anti-apartheid organizations. The government maintained their intention was to make South Africa ungovernable. Critics of apartheid say they were only encouraging legitimate protest.
If you are intelligent, if you read and you understand what's happening in the country, you provide leadership, you commit treason.
The best known of those convicted today, UDF Publicity Secretary Patrick Lekota.
We must insist on our right to struggle for freedom and peace in this country.
The men convicted will be sentenced next month. They all could hang. Although the government has succeeded in ridding itself of today's radical black leaders, it still hasn't succeeded in suppressing black defiance. Martha Teichner, CBS News, Pretoria.
Moscow was hedging its bets on the Middle East today. An official statement said the Soviet Union, quote, recognizes the proclamation of a Palestinian state by the PLO this week in Algiers. But Soviet officials stopped short of saying that this amounted to any full diplomatic recognition. They said it did not. Mikhail Gorbachev arrived in India today, along with Mrs. Gorbachev, for 3 days of talks with Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. Gorbachev started out by trying to assure Gandhi that Soviet efforts to improve relations with China are no threat to the Soviet-Indian friendship. In Geneva, a bomb exploded today outside the downtown office of the Soviet airline Aeroflot. 5 passers-by were injured, including 2 American women. An anonymous caller said the attack was carried out by an obscure socialist group.
corner of Albany Street where
No
the
vegetables, huh?
No time.
The American Dietetic Association says vegetables are an important part of a balanced diet.
The city fathers, in a combined effort
No
to
salad.
Too busy.
You need a VA.
When you can't get to eat vegetables, you can drink them. One delicious glass of V8 juice provides a serving of vegetables.
Didn't drink your V8, did you, Frank?
Drink V8. Keep your diet straight.
No one knows I just got dentures, and I don't want anything to blow it.
Fix-it and forget it.
Denture is can't eat everything, but with Fix-it, I can get a taste of the local flavor.
Fix-it and forget it. Fix-it helps fix loose spots for a strong hold that lasts longer than any leading cream.
I just got dentures, but it hasn't slowed me down.
Sergeant, be the 45. Want to hear 45. 45. Here's...
Use Fix-it and forget it.
Mom sure made life easier. Mine did. Like another mom, Phillips Milk of Magnesia. Phillips Mom helps your body work naturally for easy overnight relief. Even has this convenient dosage cup. Nobody treats you better than Mom.
In a new survey, we asked 1,000 doctors if stranded in the middle of nowhere, would they want Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, Advil, or Bayer? Doctors chose Bayer, 3-1 over extra strength Tylenol. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
There's concern tonight that debate over a new study on female sex hormones could reinforce stereotypes. Canadian researchers say that for the first time, they've shown a relationship between estrogen levels and the performance of some functions. Deborah Potter reports.
For years, they called it man's work and said women just weren't cut out for it.
All right, I guess you better take a rest.
Now, Canadian researchers report there may be a scientific basis for those old stereotypes. Women's hormone levels seem to affect their ability to do certain tasks. 2 studies on 200 women found that women have better verbal skills and are more adept at working with their hands when their estrogen levels are high, better at spatial tasks when the hormone is low.
It's not during a particular time in the menstrual cycle where women are incapable of functioning verbally. It is not that they are incapable in spatial relationships during menstrual cycle. It's just that they fluctuate to some degree.
Still, the study raised the specter of age-old prejudices that kept women out of so-called non-traditional jobs.
So when we hear people studying differences, our first concern is, uh-oh, are those the differences that they used to say meant that we should be barefoot and pregnant?
But in the new mood of the 1980s, even one leading feminist found nothing to get upset about in the link between hormones and abilities.
It's a fact of life, and it's only if reactionaries want to use this to try to push women back that it's of any importance.
Indeed, some women said the new scientific evidence could be useful information.
It would be good for players to know that maybe some days are going to be tougher because of their estrogen levels and make up for it psychologically.
Researchers say that in everyday life, the hormone changes don't have a major impact. But their scientific curiosity has led them to wonder, what about men? Do their abilities vary with their hormone changes? A new study is underway. Stay tuned. Deborah Potter, CBS News, Washington.
A federal report issued today says private and public spending on health jumped almost 10% in 1987, consuming a record share of the nation's economic output. This report says health costs consumed 11.1% of the gross national product. President Reagan continued a White House tradition today. He accepted a Thanksgiving bird from the National Turkey Federation, a 58-pounder named Woody from Iowa. And in keeping with tradition, we're told, the president granted the gobbler a stay of execution. Woody will be sent to a petting farm where the kids are sure to score the fowl a hit.
I don't know too many businesses that can afford not to be competitive, whatever size you are. That's why I'm here, and why we have a service like Prime. It's as simple as regular long distance with itemized call detail and a 15% discount, and that can really benefit a lot of growing businesses. Listen, we know what it's like to go up against a giant. I like to believe I can help my customers go up against their giant, too.
Until you call, you'll never know how much better a long-distance company can be. MCI, let us show you.
Taking home whole wheat total?
Special K.
Hope you're hungry, because you'll need almost 3 boxes to equal the vitamin and mineral nutrition in just 1 box of Total. And you?
Just shredded wheat.
12 boxes. Total, 1 bowl, 100%. No other cereal has more vitamin and mineral nutrition. If it's whole wheat Total, it's Total Nutrition. And for a better cornflake, try Total Cornflakes. Better tasting and twice the nutrition of Kellogg's cornflakes.
I've got big news for prune lovers who also love cereal. Actually, it's kind of small news when you look at it. It's Sunsweet bite-sized pitted prunes. Try them on your cereal, and you'll agree Sunsweet bite-size is just the right size.
Just 4 little calories?
Molly McButter.
Molly McButter. 100% natural butter flavor sprinkles. Real butter taste. 4 little calories. Go on, indulge.
Molly McButter.
The assassination of President John Kennedy took 6 seconds. 6 seconds captured in grisly detail on film. 3 shots, according to the Warren Report, 1 that missed, 2 that hit. Tonight, in our series on the assassination, we examine what science now knows about those 6 seconds. Now knows 25 years later.
3 shots were fired at President
Kennedy has been assassinated. Oswald has been shot.
It is the single most important piece of evidence in the assassination. The Zapruder film, named for the man who took it with his home movie camera and recorded the death of a president. The pictures do not lie, but they are ambiguous enough that for 25 years, people have debated just exactly what they show. For this report, we have slowed them down so the 2 people seated in front of President and Mrs. Kennedy can describe what happened. Former Texas Governor and Mrs. John Connally.
I heard what I thought was a rifle shot. And I turned to look over my right shoulder.
It came from the rear and to my right. So I turned around to look, and I saw the president clutch his neck and then just sort of collapse.
I didn't see anything, so I was in the process of turning to look over my left shoulder into the back seat to see the president when I felt a sharp blow, like somebody walked up behind me and hit me with a closed fist. The force of the blow was strong enough to bend me over, and I saw immediately that I was covered with blood. And I said, my God, they're going to kill us all.
So then I grabbed him and pulled him over into my lap because, not for any reason other than I was trying to get him out of the way. I didn't want him to hurt him anymore.
Then I heard another shot. I knew it had hit because it sounded with an impact that loud. And after that shot, the car, our clothes, were covered in blood and even chunks of brain tissue. I knew the shot was fatal.
The Connally's recollections of what happened here in Dealey Plaza, Dallas, are at variance with the Warren Commission in one major respect. The commission concluded the bullet that hit President Kennedy in the neck was probably the same one that hit Governor Connally, the single bullet theory. Dr. Cyril Wecht and others believe that theory is wrong, that Kennedy and Connally were not in the right positions for a single shot, that the single bullet theory defies logic and science.
So what you have is a bullet that makes turns vertically and horizontally more so than the most fabulous roller coaster ride anywhere in the world.
Which tells you
that the single bullet theory is rubbish.
And if that theory collapses, there's the possibility of a conspiracy. Tests over the years have established about 2 seconds as the minimum time for a rifleman to fire, work the bolt, and refire. 2 hits in much less than 2 seconds would mean 2 gunmen.
The first bullet that went through the president's neck could not have been the bullet that went through my chest. No way.
But 25 years later, technology allows a view of what happened in Dealey Plaza not available to the Warren Commission. Public Broadcasting prepared this computer simulation of the precise movements of the president's car based on detailed measurements taken from Warren Commission reenactments and from the Zapruder film. It shows all the shots could indeed have come from the 6th floor window of the Texas School Book Depository. It shows that if President Kennedy were leaning slightly forward and Governor Connally a bit backward, one bullet could have hit them both. And that if the governor did turn, as he recalls, perhaps reacting to an earlier shot that missed, the trajectories line up again and lead back to the 6th floor window.
I have never seen anything that suggests the shots came from anywhere but in that direction.
Francis Corbett is a scientist who has put the Zapruder film and other movies from Dealey Plaza through every possible test over the years for CBS News, for congressional investigators, and for his own enduring curiosity. He has produced 3D versions of the scene, taking 2 frames made a split second apart and merging them to create depth, enabling him to measure, within an inch or so, Kennedy and Connally's movements. Corbett believes Governor Connally is mistaken, that a crucial 20-frame sequence of the film does show both men reacting to a hit at virtually the same time, with Governor Connally probably not realizing that he'd been shot until a second or two later.
None of the conspiracy theories stand up on the evidence and the events in Dealey Plaza.
And the single bullet theory does stand up.
Absolutely.
And though they dispute the precise sequence of events, the Connollys, too, think Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone.
I've heard all this conversation and talk and theory about the grassy knoll and the overpass and so forth. I don't believe any of that. Those shots didn't come from that direction. All the shots came from behind us, and there were 3 shots, and no more, no less.
I really believe there was no conspiracy, as much as I know about it, and that's precious little, I guess, except that I was there.
6 seconds, 25 years. To John Connally, the major question has always been the one that science cannot answer.
Why was his shot fatal, and why was I saved? For what purpose was I saved? Have I lived up to whatever responsibility I have by virtue of being saved? That is a constantly recurring thought that I think will always be with me.
Our series continues Monday. That's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. See you Monday. Good night.
Collides with top-ranked Notre Dame. Then the battle for the Big 8, Nebraska, Oklahoma. A blockbuster doubleheader tomorrow on CBS Sports.
This is CBS.
I'm Chris Clark. Coming up next on Eyewitness News, Tennessee schools got a green light for student drug testing. We'll tell you what that means for Metro. The investigation of Sheriff Faye Thomas takes a turn from zoning to food. We'll explain. And TSU students end their protest as school officials consider their list of demands. We'll have those stories, plus the turkey that went to Washington. Eyewitness News is next.
When it comes to reliability, some low-priced cars leave a lot to be